I'm a spirit, I guess, in this human form right now who is trying to do the work for humanity, for people. I'm a trauma specialist, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. And walking this path and healing my own life and my own experiences as well that caused a lot of consequences, which oftentimes we ignore as adults. I know that my pain is now able to be the channel for people to being able to relate to and to find that strength to move forward and to find the courage and find inspiration, and for them to reconnect with those parts of themselves that they've forgotten maybe or never been acquainted with, which is our spiritual self.
Trauma is universal, but it's often misunderstood.
What if we took up all these human construct lens that they put on us and start with a blank slate of unlimited potential?
Welcome to Prodigal, the podcast, where we discuss inspiring stories of self-discovery and transformation. Join your host, Don Jackson, and his dynamic co-host, Big Sean, as they lead you through captivating conversations, all designed to ignite your spirit and broaden your horizons. Whether you're on a journey of personal growth or simply enjoy staying up to date on the latest in culture, you've made the right choice. Get ready to be inspired, entertained, and enlightened. This is Prodigal, the podcast.
Good day, and welcome back to another episode of Prodigal, the podcast. Hi, I am your host, Don Jackson, and it's so glad to have you guys with us today. Also joining me, as you always know, my prolific co-host, Big Sean. Sean, how you doing, my man?
What's up? Boy, you added a little too many bigs in there. Now, I told you I was slim and slow.
Hey,
now,
man,
wait a minute. I'm working on this thing, I'm jogging around the
I
block.
can only go by what I see.
Yeah, okay, well,
like
I'm working on it. Okay.
Weeks is like big
right.
Sean, you know?
Right. So you're saying I'm filling up the whole screen over here. Well, that's a damn shame. Boy, Christians will so do you bad.
You got a monitor, you see it, don't you?
Yeah, well,
you got a monitor.
Yeah, my monitor shows me.
Look at my head.
Yeah.
Look at my head in the frame. Now look at your head.
Yeah, but mine, you know what I'm saying? Hey. But these glasses, are magnifying glasses. You know what I'm saying? I got these Mr. Magoo's on. Yeah.
Man, I'm glad to see you this morning and that you're having a wonderful morning.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we have a very special guest.
Yes, we do.
This morning, Alisa is joining us. She's a mental health counselor, amongst many other things and facets and so forth. She's just a ball full of energy and healing. How about that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this because I'm gonna get some counseling in today. I'm sure
she will dial in on both of us.
Well, I'm just letting you know now. I'm needing some help, and
I'm sure she would dial in on both of us and have a prescription ready for us after
okay. Well, yeah. I'm just letting you know my Medicare ran out, so it got to be free, Doc.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Prodigal platform, Miss Alisa Chavez.
Yay! All righty.
Thank you.
What's up, lady?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. And today, everything is pro bono. So whatever you may need, I'm here to assist, whether it's for you or for the listeners. So I'm very excited to share the space. So thank you so much for having me over.
Okay, well, if we don't use it, we we put it in the bank. We put it on the book. So we don't use it, we just put it on the book. So,
total recall. Okay, yeah.
It's going to deposit that. We might not need it today, but later, we know it's there in the books.
Yeah, okay. Not responsible for that.
Oh, you're doing great this morning, huh?
Oh,
you're
yes.
looking great.
Thank you so much. You gentlemen look amazing too, and it's a beautiful morning and it's an exciting time, and I'm very honored to be sharing some of the things that I know, and if anything will help the listeners too, that's a big honor for me as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, before we jump right into what is trauma that you specialize in and treat, before your bio, who are you?
I'm a spirit, I guess, in this human form right now who is trying to do the work for humanity, for people. I'm a trauma specialist, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. And walking this path and healing my own life and my own experiences as well that caused a lot of consequences, which oftentimes we ignore as adults. And I feel like understanding more about trauma and gaining better perspective on the strategies that can be useful on how the trauma is encoded, just getting more awareness on that. And that's what my journey is about, is being there for people when it's rough, when they're in pain, and also seeing their transformation. There's nothing more rewarding for me than being a part of that. So so working with trauma is something that I passionately love, and combining a lot of different practices in order to help a variety of people, because one size doesn't fit all, and we need to gain the tools that can be helpful for us specifically. And so that's why I provide a comprehensive kind of way for people to gain those tools so that they can use it.
Okay, so when you speak of these traumas and all, did you have some trauma take place in your life that you felt like you needed to fix, and then once you got the formula, you wanted to pass it on?
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually my life's journey. I feel like dealing with pain and learning what it is and how to navigate that was a big part of why I'm here right now and sharing this story. I moved to the United States when I was a child. Again, I was born in Soviet Union. It was a very rough kind of upbringing, and it was thankfully I didn't grow up feeling poor, but we were technically poor. So, and transgenerational trauma, which is now we're more aware of it as well. And my grandparents went through the Second World War, so it was a lot of things that shaped me as a kid as well. And so transitioning by myself at the age of 18 to another continent, right now I feel like I probably didn't have a lot of brains back in the day, but at the same time right now I feel like that's a part of the journey as well. So, and that kind of rough experience led me to other things when you're trying to navigate a new country from very different perspective and upbringing, led me to experience domestic violence and sexual abuse, and leading me to substance use as well as a coping skill. And I feel like a lot of us can relate to that aspect when we turn to the wrong strategies
Yes.
in order to navigate what we've been dealt with. And so working all of this and taking myself through a spiritual journey as well as mental journey, and then gaining education and finding that purpose in life, that I know that my pain is now able to be the channel for people to be able to relate to, and to find that strength to move forward, and to find the courage and find inspiration, and for them to reconnect with those parts of themselves that they've forgotten maybe, or never been acquainted with, which is our spiritual self. I feel like, which is a big part of understanding trauma and personal transformation, which again doesn't have to be kind of related to religion, but a very empowering practice, because we gain that bigger perspective on things. So a lot of personal experiences leading to this type of work.
You just said a whole mouthful
Yes.
that just happened to you personally. And it just rolled off your tongue so fluently. Sexual abuse, physical abuse. Like, unpack. Hold up. Bless your heart.
Yeah. It was many years ago, and navigating that was rough. But also, I know that a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of women. I think the rate right now, statistics from like 10 years ago, was 1 out of 5 women dealing with that. So it's a lot of women who had to endure something similar and navigate, and that can be a rough experience, and how it affects us, and that's how trauma naturally stored in our physiology, and it's not just mental. And so understanding that what kind of those experiences can create for our physique, right, is a big part of it too.
What led to your traumas? I mean, that's a lot. Was that by one individual, several individuals, over a period of time? That was a lot to deal with.
Yeah, no, it was one experience. It was very first relationship. Again, I was a late bloomer, so for me that was around 20. That was my first kind of partnership, romantic involvement. And I didn't know any better. And I feel like a lot of us just don't know, if we didn't endure that as children, then when we get to it when we're young adults, it's very disorienting place, because you feel like maybe that's something that everybody goes through. Maybe we should be okay with that. Since you're in a relationship with that person, maybe that's normal. And so I didn't even know I was abused until after the fact, when I started to open up to people and talk about it. And that
Wow.
became that, I became more aware of it. And I feel like that's a big part of gaining that healing, is first understanding what happened and how it affected you.
So
So
We
that
get
brings up
to
the
it
question.
when we're young
go
adults.
ahead, Don.
It's very
Okay.
disorienting.
That brings up the question. So most people don't know they've been traumatized. Unpack that a little bit.
Of life right now that is impacted? Is it that I'm functioning everywhere to my full potential? Or there's something that is just hard to break, because trauma can affect us in many different ways. It doesn't mean that if I'm functioning and I do it perfectly, it doesn't mean I don't have traumas. Maybe there are certain areas of life that can be getting better or that are impacted, but I have no awareness of that. For instance, we can be great employees, we can have businesses, we can be, great as far as our home environment, but we're not able to gain other connections with people. Maybe there's something that's we're missing, and we get too stuck to one person per se, right? Maybe it's codependency, maybe it's something impeding my personal progress, maybe some habits that I'm not able to break. All of these factors can also imply that there is some underlying trauma, because trauma, it's stored in two different ways. Not everything that we experience is just mental. When we get scared, when something is affecting us, even when we get happy, we experience that physiologically, right? If I always give this example of watching a scary movie, if we get scared, it's not just mental, oh, I'm afraid. I have heart palpitation, I experience that in my physiology. The same happens with trauma. And underneath that physiological response, there's a negative belief about ourselves. But we have no awareness of that, because this top brain, we're going to call it simplistically top brain, and bottom brain, they don't have connection. And so that physiology that happens when we experience traumatic event kind of leads us to encode underneath all that sensations and emotions, negative belief. For instance, I am not good enough, I'm alone, I'm abandoned, I'm unsafe. And then from this point on, that may continue to interfere with our life. I mean, I can function great, but if I feel like I'm unsafe and nobody can be trusted, then I have this lens that's muddy and I'm looking at the world with that. So how likely am I to connect with certain people if I don't trust people or I feel unsafe? It's going to impede my progress in connecting and making those meaningful relationships with others. So we have to understand again in what way our life right now is impacted, and be brutally honest with ourselves. Well, rather than justifying, because we're masters of justifying our behaviors. But if we honestly look at that, is that behavior is good for me? Is this habit is serving me? Is it healing me or killing me? Right? So if we look at it from that perspective, we can gain understanding, you know what, I want to change something. And then we start digging deeper to understand what kind of things we need to change, how certain experience could have impacted us. And it's a journey, it's a process. It's not something that we can just overnight understand and become aware of and find a way to solve it. It's a step after step, and it's hard work.
It's funny that you should mention it like that. But trauma is universal, but it's often misunderstood. So I have a question: how are some of the ways, the less obvious ways, that trauma will show up in an individual, and actually they not even know that they are going through trauma or they've been traumatized?
Mm-hmm. Well, pay attention to emotions. If I feel often worried about things, even though it's not something that I'm afraid of, that something big can happen. Maybe I feel depressed a lot. Maybe I find myself isolating, but I can also, again, I can justify it. I say, you know what, I don't have the energy. Maybe not having an energy can be also a consequence of that, because naturally trauma can lead to anxiety, depression, to substance use as well. So we have to check for all of the habits that we have and see if we find fulfillment in life too, because a lot of times also trauma leads to disassociation from ourselves. And so it's very hard. If we're disassociated, we're not able to know that because we're out there, we're not even present in our body. So I feel like understanding if I'm living my life to the fullest, or there's something that I would like to have better. If there's something that the quality of life that maybe I deserve better, but I don't have that. I feel like understanding your emotions first, because emotions will tell us a lot about where we are right now and what's the state of our being. So I feel like just checking with yourself and seeing about your needs and your emotional state first to see if there can be something underlying.
I have another question to that. So, trauma and or shall we just say depression? There is no age
Mm-hmm.
limit on depression, is there?
No, absolutely not.
So, for our younger audience, how do you reach them to let them know that whatever it is they're going through, it's okay and it's kind of normal to get them out of the depressed state? How do you address that? How would you address that? Adolescence depression.
Ah, um, Adolescence is a whole another field that, again, I try to deal with people 18 plus, and I give a lot of credit to those who deal with that population, with all the respect. But I feel like just there can be a lot of factors for adolescents. I feel like to be going through a lot of struggles, and that can also be and depression based on some traumatic experiences. A lot of times, what I've seen, and people who are older but working with trauma from when they're kids, that are around when they're teens or adolescents, right, or getting a little bit closer to 20s, but not there yet, they experience certain health conditions that can also kind of show them that there is something underneath that. And
Right.
depression, I feel like being open to people, but again, having that support is very important for adolescents to understand again where they stand and what's happening. So I feel like number one is seeking support, because oftentimes we may feel misunderstood and isolated. And so navigating that from the space of it's safe to open up, but you also, if you open up and that's not taken seriously, you got to find a new support system. Because again, a lot of times people can be disregarded. And I feel like for adolescents too, when they come for help, not every parent will be available in the capacity they have to at that time, especially if the kid is struggling with something. So I feel like finding first supports of older, not the same age group, but maybe older people that can maybe give them some, advice that will be helpful. Maybe it's a teacher, right? Maybe it's, again, your parents starting first. I hope that people would have this rapport with their parents, but finding support system first to share what's going on so that they're not alone in this, because it can be, I mean, they don't have the prefrontal lobe yet developed. And so it's hard to make decisions or even assess yourself if you're struggling with something and make proper judgment on what's going on with me right now. So I feel like seeking support is number one step, but support from the right people and not closing off if the first person they came to is not available for them in the capacity they need.
For as a parent, how do parents recognize that their child is struggling with something? Because I mean, in most cases, kids don't open up to the parent and or
Mm-hmm.
the guardian to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm struggling over here. I'm depressed. Somebody is picking on me at school. They calling me fat, ugly, or whatever." And kids don't know how to actually communicate that with their with their parent without the parent getting upset and wanting to go up to the school and start trouble issues or whatever. But how does a parent recognize the fact that their child is struggling with something?
Yeah, I feel like first creating a space for that. Number one, I think everybody, even if we may feel like, and there can be things that maybe not, we're going to call it not as serious as what it appears per se. But even
Okay.
then, I feel like exploring what's going on with the child is important. Just giving them that stage and say, okay, well, what's happening? Tell me, like, it's okay. Whatever you feel, it's okay. Because I feel like as there's a book that's called The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gaber Mate. And he talks about providing that space and normalizing a lot of different emotions that kids have, because sometimes if we're paying attention to adolescents, they can have a lot of tantrums, right, or certain outbursts. It's never out of nowhere. Yes, of course hormones can play a part, but I feel like still giving that space and say, okay, what's going on, tell me, just tell me everything how it is, and just listening. I feel like we don't listen enough, especially as adults. We usually feel like what we know is what we know, and that's the truth, the ultimate truth. But if we
Right.
just create that space to listen,
Get out of your
it
way.
will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe see, okay, what do you feel like you would like to get out of it? What do you feel like you would like as the outcome for yourself? I feel like getting more curious about that would create that space that kids will be more open to share what's happening, and maybe even discover that there's some major events that are happening in kids' lives that we're not even aware of. But I feel like giving that safe space, and even if you have an idea why it's happening, suspend it. Allow the kid to share with you whatever is going on, and then you can make a proper judgment. Even if you feel like maybe taking them to therapy, even though you, as an adult, you may feel that this is nothing, can be a good idea to start. Why not? Let the kid to talk to someone who may understand them too. If you feel
Wow,
like
that's
this
big.
is
A
an
neutral
improvement.
person. Yeah, that's big. We just had
Yeah.
a baby here, 12 years old. I mean, not to get political and all, but had a baby 12 years old. Uh, her classmates went about bullying her, telling her, "Oh, don't worry about it. When you go home today, your parents are not going to be home. They're going to be deported, and then you're going to be all alone. You're going to be by yourself." And for whatever reason, the baby went home, and her parents were not there. And the first thing she thought was they were deported, and so she killed herself.
Oh, that's
And that happened
awful.
right here in Dallas, Texas. And it just, oh shit! That just ran me hot for real, for real. The baby killed herself because her parents were not home when she got there.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you talking about
Wow.
trauma for your ass? There you go.
That is trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
Trauma.
No, that's rough. I feel like it's again politically, I know there's a lot going on working with clients too, and I feel like that's why it's so important to have that connection with your child. I know it's not easy when kids are teenagers. I get that part, but I feel like there's still a way to create that environment where you will be having more connection with the kid rather than the kid being influenced at school and the kid having more of an understanding of their own identity and their family and having a plan for any type of situations, especially if we're considering cultural influences in here and the situation in the country as well. I feel like it's good to create that bond and having better communication. I've actually seen some of my clients who have kids and how they navigate that. It's just beautiful when they have this rapport. But it's like it's complete transparency and openness, and there's no judgment with that. And that's what provides the kid to be able to open up because they know that no matter what they tell you, it's going to be accepted and it's going to be listened to and it's not going to be disregarded. And when that happens, even if it's not true, even if the kid has like fantasies or something like that, give them the space, let them talk about it. I feel like it's important to listen. And as adults, unfortunately, we not always have time. Again, we're not here to blame parents or judge them, right? But it's like becoming better in navigating that and maybe again investing in this relationship as much as we invest in our jobs, as much as we invest in our taking care of our well-being. I feel like creating space for relationships, no matter whether it's a parent, child, or friendly or family related. I feel like it's very important to have that space and time and energy invested in it. That will
Right.
create this certainty.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, speaking of tools,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of magical healing tools that you use,
Uh-oh.
and kind of go down the line and see,
Wait a
and
minute.
see which one prescribed to what and
Uh,
to whom.
Yes.
As working with CBT,
Mm-hmm.
EMDR, ACT, and DMT, and many more.
wait a minute. What do all those things mean? What is
Well,
CBT and EMDR and ACT
You have
and
trauma. You have trauma.
mm,
Based on what that trauma is, there are
yeah.
different methods of healing.
okay?
And these are some of the methods that she has in her toolbox based
Oh,
on how, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
let her say how, what
Mm-hmm.
she described to what and how she determines that.
boy, I thought you done came up with something. You done read something somewhere. I was like, boy, this boy done turned
I
into
did.
a
I
therapist
did.
on our ass.
I
What?
read the letters behind her name.
Oh, okay. Well, I was like, boy, I thought I was woo. I mean, there we go. We going viral, y'all.
Yeah.
So is it
Well,
okay to call you Doc?
No, I mean, I don't have that advanced degree. Even though some
That's
clients
okay.
do that to me, and I'm like, I'm not it, but it's an honor to be called that for fun,
Yeah,
not
I mean,
for
you healing
speech.
people, so you have a prescription pad.
She's a
Uh,
miss.
no, only mental one, only the mental
That's
one.
all it
No, no, the
needs.
actual. Yes. Well, there's a lot of ways, and again, because trauma is like a multifaceted thing, and I feel like when we're going to mental health, we expect that will cure everything, or
Yeah,
just like when we're going to the doctor, it's going to be they give us that pill and we're going to feel fine, or if we go for meditation or church or whatever other ways to kind of target our spirituality, that will be solving a lot of things. But we're one human, right? We're one system, and so everything works together. And understanding that how our mind operates, how it affects our emotions, how trauma is stored, how do we function, right? What are our ways to in operating in the world in general, and examining that and learning how to heal every step of the way, every area that we may have in the system. So CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, basically exploring the beliefs that we have, because our beliefs are something that we all have different ones, right? And if we're let's say outside and there's me and let's say a homeless person, and we're in the same time and space, but we have completely different realities. So understanding that we all live in different realities, none of us live in the same world. It's a completely different places for all of us. We function in different realms. I feel like that's the first step in exploring how are those beliefs are healthy or unhealthy, because a lot of times we get that from when we're born, right? We accumulate a lot of things and we store that within, and then based on those beliefs, that's the thoughts that we experience. So our thoughts will always reflect the beliefs about life. Let's say again, if I feel like the world is an awful place because I lived in a bad family, I had a bad upbringing, and it was very abusive, then I will feel like, okay, my belief is I'm unsafe, it's not good, people can't be trusted. So then I'm looking at the world from the same thing, right? All of my thoughts are like, I'm not sure if I want to talk to that person. I'm not sure if I want to attend this activity. I'm not sure if I want to take this on. If I was made to believe that I'm not enough or not, I'm stupid or whatever the negative beliefs we can have, then I'm not going to be trying to excel or get the job that I feel like I can take on, even though, I feel like I have the skills, but something is off. I'm not sure I'm going to get it. Right. So a lot of ways our beliefs are affecting how we are. And so learning to navigate our mind and becoming more aware of it, because naturally in our life, the only thing we will have control over is our thoughts. Nothing else we have control over. Even though humans, we plan in advance, we have this trajectory of how my life would be like, we really have it's an elusive um,
Question.
control. Yeah.
Question. You said the only thing we have control over are our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how do we have control of our thoughts? We have control over the thoughts, the belief that we choose to believe the thoughts, but the thoughts come and go.
Thoughts are something that based on our beliefs, because the thoughts are habitual in nature, and so our
Uh-huh.
thoughts is something that's running on the background all the time. It's something that again we don't have control over it, and especially
Correct.
people who try to we don't have it at the beginning, but then we can again dispute it, we can watch it, we can become an observer, we can question our thoughts too. Because a lot of times when I think a thought, so what's happening, why our thoughts are so prominent? When I have a thought, and we're talking about, we call it cognitive triangle. So we
Mm-hmm.
have everything, a situation happens from which we interpret it in a certain way, right? Let's say I'm losing my grandmother, and that grandmother for me was the world. I didn't have connection with my parents, and grandmother was everything. So if I feel like I'm losing the person who was everything and I will never have that connection, right? It's based on the belief that this grandmother is the most important person and I'm not going to be good without her. Then my thoughts after she passed, I don't know what I'm going to do. She was the only one who understood me. Then we go to feeling. How do I feel when I think those thoughts? I feel bad. I feel sad. I mean, and right, all of this negative emotions. And then from our feelings come behaviors. So what do I do when I feel like my life is over and I feel sad and I feel bad? I may not get out of bed. I may not study enough. I may not go and play with friends, just because my belief was that that person was everything. So understanding and trying to shift and change, exploring, is that the truth? Maybe it's hard, yes, but there are ways to navigate it. Okay, I have rapport with my mom, let's say, or with my parents, maybe with a friend group. Maybe I should go to therapy. Maybe I have to practice with grief. But again, in general, we become more aware of the habitual thought patterns. And then we'll learn to replace that And that's how emotions become that guide for us. Because if I notice, oh my God, I'm awful, like this day sucks. Okay, what am I thinking about? Well, I remember my grandmother again. I'm thinking how it was great with her, and now she's not here. I'm like, okay, stop. What can I think about instead? And then I'm choosing what I want to think about. Is it easy? No. That's why I have a job, because people are not able to master themselves. And I feel like understanding and learning about how you function and learning about your ways and those habitual things that are running the program in our head that kind of afterwards lead us to certain emotions and behaviors. That's what cognitive behavioral therapy allows us to do. It's exploring our thoughts, and then through those thoughts, we see what was the belief underneath, because it's very hard to get to that belief initially, but observing and understanding better, what am I thinking about, and tracking those thoughts, becoming more aware of that. That's the first step. And then we're going into, okay, what can I think instead? And it cannot be something that, something that doesn't feel true, because our physiology will know. But healing starts, okay, I'm open to learning about new relationships in my life, rather than saying, well, I have incredible relationships with everybody else. It's not going to be true, right? To the child, let's say, when she thinks that, or a woman who thinks that. But then saying, you know what, I'm open to seeing other relationships. I'm open, or I'm working on building new friendships that will be fulfilling too. And I begin to change that belief that's limiting me. And I start to give myself a little bit of freedom to see other perspective. Because I feel like one of the things that led me actually to a lot of realization was when once I asked myself, okay, what if everything I believe in is not true? And then suddenly I have a field of opportunities and things to think about that's not what I thought was true. And then I can explore and see whether this is something that can help me feel better or not. Because again, there's so many realities, so many opinions. We can choose if this is something that's weird. That's a weird thought, right? Because I have a different perspective on this. But again, that thought is as valid for them as my reality is for me. So what if there is some truth in it? And if I begin to question that, I begin to open myself up. And again, it requires open mind and heart. And I know a lot of people say, well, I have an open mind. Not true. No. A lot of people don't have an open mind because we like to be stuck with our ideas about the world. And plus, most importantly, we believe what we think about and what we feel. So let's say if I feel, and you can probably relate, if I feel shitty, if I feel bad today, life is shit. If I feel great today, life is beautiful. We always reflect to the world what we experience, and beginning to understand that my emotions are fleeting as well, and they come from my thoughts, what I'm thinking about. I begin to find those steps forward in order to change what I think about, to give myself that fresh start, to give myself a new perspective, to start changing little by little the beliefs that I have about life too. And it's a process. It's not easy. It requires a lot of work and a lot of letting go of those things that I used to know and thought was true. A lot of habits that I have, what things that I listen to, things that I watch, because information in, information out, garbage in, garbage out. What I feed myself daily afterwards reflect on how I view the world as well. So again, it's a very, there's a lot of steps in this. And I feel like, again, just not overwhelming yourself, but even giving yourself that perspective of like, what if there's something better that I can believe about myself? Or what is there's other truth about life that I didn't consider or didn't open myself to? And that becomes that a very gentle, it's not a push, it's a gentle nudge, so to say.
What if we took off all these human construct lens that they put on us and start with a blank state, blank slate
Yeah.
of unlimited potential?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be dangerous.
Absolutely.
That is dangerous.
Why?
Speaking
Why do you say that? What do you believe in that it can be dangerous, a blank slate? What's your belief?
Because with a blank slate, at this age, and I had a blank slate, oh boy, I don't know how many things I would go about doing differently. I think whatever I did, I would probably be more strategic in it, because whatever caused me to get caught up, I'm going to try to avoid that. But, I don't know if everything, my personal belief, I don't know if everything that I've experienced in life that we consider to be trauma, now it was traumatic, though I feel that it was necessarily detrimental. I believe that through my trauma, I've grown a lot, and I got to experience a lot of things that helped shape me into the character that I am today. Because through my trauma, personally, through my trauma, shit, if I wouldn't have survived it, shit, it's death. And here I go. So,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about it. Trauma is horrible. Yes, it is. But if we live in this trauma, and let that trauma to continue to consume you, shit, I mean, you'll always be walking around depressed and or lost and
Yeah,
wanting to blame everybody else for your misfortune and your circumstances.
absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. Well, you're on it. And the thing is, this is where we want to get people to, is to
Mm,
look back and say that this in that trauma there was a gift for me that I became who I was meant to be.
yes,
And
ma'am.
that's that spiritual perspective that I'm talking about when again considering
Right.
kind of trauma. Viktor Frankl, the book Men's Search for Meaning, wonderful tool for everybody. It's the man who went through Holocaust and he survived and he created this masterpiece for people to learn from and find meaning in their experience. I mean, if he was able to find meaning after Holocaust and throughout it and having this idea brewing, I mean, we can do it too. And that's
Yeah,
the end result. And blank slate, I don't think we're meaning like completely wiped out all of our history. Trauma will always be a part of our history, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be a part of our story. When it's
Right.
still a part of
Okay.
our story, there we get stuck. And I feel like the healing process, it's not about that doesn't exist anymore, I'm good. No, it's the opposite. That trauma adds a shape to it. It adds to a beautiful gift to our person now, to our identity now. Because now we create this channel through that pain that we've had, and we're able to contribute to the world with something that we transform with it and through it. And so that becomes that again, I love trauma. And it
Mm.
sounds weird sometimes
Right,
when
right,
I
yeah,
say it, people are like, what do you
understandable.
mean?
We get it. We get it.
But we look back and we didn't say, oh my God, I was so happy. That was a great time. I grew so much. I evolved so much. We never say that. But when we look back and say, oh my God, that was a horror of my life. That was a deep hole. I went through hell. I've changed so much and I've become so much better and so much stronger. Only through those moments we can grow. And that's why I love working with Trump, because people can get such an insight and such a liberation and such growth and evolution through it. And that's why I love to be a part of it. I don't consider myself to be a healer per se. When people say that, naturally, probably that's what it is. But I just love that transformation happens in my presence, because people can take what I'm giving
mm,
them and they can either run with it or they can disregard it. And that's going to
Yeah.
be on them. Their success or their failure, so to say, or their stagnation, it's
Right.
not my fault, right? But I'm just so honored to be a part and be in a space where that transformation takes place with that human, and just being in that presence is an empowering experience for me, and seeing what people with struggling souls can do for themselves after experiencing something so tremendously painful. Probably in your case, right? You took it, you integrated, you processed it, you worked through it. Was it easy? I'm sure it was not.
No, not at all.
no,
Everything
it's a
was,
process
yeah, there was a
every day.
transformation in there, you know.
Yeah, transformation is whew, it's a continuous journey, and I ditto to what Sean said as well as yourself. Um, Trauma it takes impending to change, because impermanence is forever. So there's going to be some
There's gonna
trauma
be some, yeah, there's gonna be some good days and be some bad
to make
days.
you think different, to like, no, this is not right. There's no, this is, and until you finally get fed up. And then you start to seek. And then once you seek, getting over, segue over to the spiritual side, we only suffer because we think we are separate self.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the victories that I got 1,051 of them, but I'm gonna tell you one victory out of one person's trauma. This podcast itself, this whole the movement behind this was birthed out of some trauma.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
not surprised.
yeah, there was some major trauma going on, and it could have been life and or death. Well, when someone chose the one to live, then found purpose and figured out what they want to live for, and then just brought me along for the journey. That's what that is. That's how that looks.
Yeah. So what did you
Go ahead.
Sorry, what did you actively do to work on that? What was your tools that you've utilized?
The tools that I use, well, speaking of my trauma, I'm kind of like Sean. I don't really call my life trauma. I grew up very strict, a PK's kid. And I always had a different outlook than they did growing up. And it was, and as we lived life, I just thought on my own. I always sense other things. I hear what you're telling me. I'm trying to apply the prescription that you're giving me, this religious prescription, but I'm not getting those same results. So I can't be in continent dissonance with you guys when we're not getting the results, but yet you guys are still doing the same thing and the same thing. And then anytime there is real no accountability, it's always you pull the religious card, the righteous I'm saved card, or I'm the pastor, or I'm this as your trump card. But there's never really no accountability. You never go get counseling. You mean you've been saved all your life and you're a super
Negro.
You're super spiritual.
Yeah.
And it's just prevalent for people that are born in the church.
Yeah.
They never think they're supposed to have any problem. But then it's almost like you can never test that. Well, yes, you can after a season. Oh, yes, it's time to put the grade card out. Let's see. And that's kind of what happened to me generally. And then once I started deconstructing from Christianity, and then I had a heart attack. And I had a near-death experience. And then when I seen the doctors working on me and so forth and so on, and coming out of that, it's like, I got to go do some more scholarship. I got to see what this is. And then in my searching and through introspection and really not say sitting under a lot of people, but just really getting to myself and exploring outside of that which I was normally taught, then things start to make sense. It started to like, well, I'm only suffer because I'm Don. I'm not, Don is a human construct. We're all spirit. Everything is connected. There's only one thing happening. It's consciousness enfolding up on himself. And like you say, mental, DID, disassociation. When I tell people that's how God is, this how we're one source. It's like God playing chess on different timelines because it's only one source.
Yes.
So God has mental disorder. God has a mental disorder in the sense that this is how he does. This is how it does what it does.
Yeah.
And so if you can unpack that, since you're a mental health therapist, the disassociation part.
Yeah, well, I feel like DID that you spoke about, this dissociative identity disorder, it's very rare case where it's actually different entities living in you, but it's different, more like different parts of ourselves that are at play. And this association, I love how you said that. It's a very cool idea to me. You got this DID because that sounds so true. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. But for trauma, again, sometimes we get that part of ourselves that's been activated because it needs to protect us, right? So let's say if it's a child, sometimes in adults there's like a 5-year-old child, or there's a teenager, or there is a different part of ourselves like feminine and masculine. There's usually something associated with that, and that's how we get the separation. It's more of a preservation component and defense mechanism that appears, and we have protectors, we have exiles, we have different parts. But we all have different parts. I mean, if we think about it, when people say, well, that's not who I am, but who are you? Because you're so different with your parents, you're different with your spouse, you're different with your friends, you're different coworkers. It's like you have so many faces. Which one is real you? You can't say that one is more true than the other.
Well, not to cut you off, but it's when you really think about it, that's the only thing that can be happening. Because if it's only one thing happening, how do we function in all these altars? He has to dissociate himself. And that altar is that only altar, and that's on that timeline. In that timeline, when you're born, that altar is born based on wherever he was born, what his parents put into him, and so forth. And that's how this shit keep going. Consciousness keep unfolding on himself.
I love it. I love it.
Something like that.
So the archetype. So if that's an archetype, that means it's happening. So above, so below. That's a
Yeah.
so above, so below. So on some of your other healing,
no, Lord, not the cup.
oh no, she got the bow. She got that real shit.
Sound healing,
cup.
yes. Sound healing, beautiful. One of the most amazing things I feel like on this alternative medicine list that I can think of. And I actually served people in detoxes and rehabs, right? I've worked as a sound healer in a rehab center, and people were getting results that are much better from this relatively normal folks that we call in a community, right? I love doing sound healing in general. I get benefits from that. Everybody do. So everything in our body vibrates. Every single cell has a vibration. We know it, right? That consciousness at play. And when something is off, when we're anxious, maybe we have a physical injury, when something is not okay, our overall vibration becomes incoherent. So we have this dysfunction in an energetic field, and that's actually observable and noticeable by others too, because naturally we are telepathic beings. We have, even though some people don't have desire to access that, I would say they have the access, but they're not really in tune with that. We can all develop that. We can practice that, and we can really work on having that. But some of the simple things of how it is already at play and it's already working is when we sense other people. Sometimes we see someone walking into the room and we don't know that person, but we can be immediately drawn to them, or the opposite, we can be repelled by them too. We all have probably those experiences when we sense into these energies. That's exactly, your energy is reading someone else's energy and making a judgment whether it's safe, it's not safe, maybe I shouldn't come. And a lot of times we ignore that too. But coming back to sound healing, when this energy becomes incoherent, sound healing, it's the crystal bowls, they have Tibetan bowls, I have tubes, I have a lot of different instruments that I use, tuning forks, variety, right? Little bells and so on and so forth. If we do it in a closed room, the sound bounces off the walls and penetrates the body, shifting that energy, because again, that sound wave is the energy. It's shifting that. And when I've done it in the rehab, some people would be able to fall asleep when they haven't slept in days because of withdrawal symptoms. Some people will not have pains in their bodies anymore. Some people connect with their ancestors, and I'm sensitive. So when I'm sensing there is some presence in the room per se, when I'm doing that, and then the person, I sense where that presence is, and suddenly then that person saying, I had my grandmother here, or I had my, somebody who was like a stepmother to me, and they just described that, and I was like, okay, that makes sense now. But they experience it much deeper, and I feel like I have this theory that I don't have a support with or for, but when we're talking about folks that are relatively normal, like all of us primarily, then we have the different brain regions that are working, right? We have more capacity to rationalize things, to, make decisions. When the folks have the brain capacity a little different, when after substance use, sometimes certain parts, what they say in the field, right, is that their brains are impaired in certain areas, they're not working as much. But then maybe the other parts of it can be easier activated, and people have access to more of that energetic component and this extrasensory perceptions and abilities that they have. And so it's easier for them to tune into those energies that are not rational or mental, but sensing into it. Because I've seen tremendous results from that. And again, seeing people not having body aches or being able to sleep in the room. They're snoring. They were just saying how they can't sleep for days and it's been a struggle, and they're snoring in the middle of the session. I love it. It's like an extra healing tool, right? The sound of it.
Are we talking about any psychedelics at all, or what?
Not yet, no. That's just the sound healing.
That's the sound.
Oh, Lord.
Moving from the sound healing, let's go into the DMT.
Whew, she said, not yet.
Yeah, and if you can elaborate, let's go into the psychedelics
Well, ayahuasca.
therapy, ayahuasca.
Well, it's not really therapy. I don't perform that. I want to be clear because that's going to be illegal for me to do. But integrating
Oh,
people after their experiences, number one, again, I've been through it. Psychedelics in a way of ketamine assisted psychotherapy, that's a little different story. DMT is like that ayahuasca component. I know mushrooms.
DMT.
Yeah, DMT. That's what ayahuasca is kind of the component that the main component of it. For me, that served. I've been with this practice for many, many years. It started in 2017, and that gave me tremendous amount of healing of my own traumas, and that was a very powerful experience. I love this practice. It's the medicine for my soul. It's not for everybody, so I want to just be clear because that's not a solution to all the problems we have. It may be a solution for for you, but again, it doesn't have to be. But as an addition, if people are able to do that based on their medical history and recommendations, but their provider and anybody who worked with them, because there are some contraindications to that practice. But if that's something that people feel called to and they really have intention to heal and they really have a problem that they want to solve, this can be an incredible help to them to deal with that. Beautiful modality. Again, it served me. It's been a magical journey that helped me actually unfold my practices with sound healing, with everything. A lot of things that I currently do as a spiritual component of that came from that healing process for me too. So it's definitely it's a beautiful, beautiful modality if anybody's interested, for sure, if they feel called to, but just knowing about contraindications will be definitely useful.
So that particular modality, what is the actual benefit besides uh, not besides killing the ego?
I don't like the words of killing the ego because when people use that, no, but yeah,
Linguistically speaking, I don't.
right,
I really was looking for the right word to say.
right, right. I
Going
like
back
to
straight to
say,
source, because basically
right.
you're killing the personal self, where you're dissolving the personal self.
Yeah, I like the word
Yeah,
domesticating, like a wild horse. If you learn to domesticate your ego and help it work for you, that would be a useful thing because we're ego until, I mean, I come back into the body, I am ego again. I
correct,
cannot just be just spirit because while we have this body, that's kind of, we're
correct.
connected until the rest of our lives. It works on multiple brain regions. It allows us to go backwards in the memory and reprocess that. So we bring different perspective. As if we're talking about just scientific part of it, we have the visual cortex is activated. Our memory component, hippocampus, is activated as well. We're able to reprocess the past just like we would after 10 years of therapy. So it allows us to reshape our understanding of it just because we have that disassociation from the human self, and which means to the knowledge that we all have embedded in our cell, in our every cell. We have that wisdom within ourselves. But a lot of times, if people don't have time to practice other spiritual ways, prayer, meditation, any other kind of practices that they may have, we may have struggled to disconnect from the mind, and our minds are often restless. And how they say in South America, our minds are ill. Like minds are ill because we're constantly influenced, especially in the US. We have so much noise, so much garbage that's all around us, and it's very hard to disassociate from that. So we're going to be exposed to that. So that allows us to step back and to reconnect with the wisdom we all have inside, and to find a solution without having a therapist. You are your own therapist in a way, but you're listening because your body is at complete peace at that time. You don't have access to that as we usually are. And that's, again, that sense of control that we have is like, no, I have to be in control. A lot of people are afraid of this part of it where they have to let go, but letting go is the only way that is. If we don't surrender, we're not going to hear the voice of wisdom because the mind will always be at the steering wheel. So ayahuasca allows us to disconnect from that and tune into yourself and your innate wisdom that was always there. We just didn't have the time to listen.
But that entry point, coming back to yourself after all that experience,
Yeah.
that's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, coming back, and integration is the most important part. Ceremony is fun, or not so much fun. It can be terribly beautiful. I've had rough experiences, but how you integrate that, what happened for me, and I will just tell my personal experience. It's giving you those tools to use. It's giving you the understanding of what's going on. It's giving you the tool of what I can do about it. but then the free will kicks in when we're humans, right? So I can either take it and I use it for myself the next time when I have the triggering situation, because guess what? After the ceremony, I can be uplifted. Everything is great. I see unicorns and rainbows. Life is beautiful. I got it. I'm healing, right?
With
And then,
Andromeda.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then you go back and there's that spouse that's pressing your nerves. There's that person that's cutting you on the street. There's that boss that's so rude and disrespectful. And you have the choice. Then you begin to see this choice much clearer. You're like, okay, I see this now. I have 2 ways to go. Which one do I pick? And that's how the free will begins to play. Because I can go backwards to my old kind of experiences, my old patterns, or I have to practice a little more. But it's going to be easier to break that pattern now if I want to. Not easy, but easier. And so this is where we have to exercise carefully the choices that we have, so that we can actually take ourselves into a more healing way, into, more goodness and feeling better.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, that's not for everyone. If you've already been there, I think I've already been the source where I don't even have to take that
Absolutely
that journey. But I do notice most philosophy of minds, most of them take that journey. And then again, like yourself, I think it's important, because how can you talk about something that you haven't experienced?
Yeah.
Or how can you offer treatment or help in something that you haven't actually experienced yourself? And one of my mentors, Bernardo Castro, he's a philosopher of mine in more of an idealism. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Have you heard of him? Bernardo Castro.
No.
You might look him up, Dr. Bernardo
Well.
Castro. Yeah. So, man, that is beautiful. You're very knowledgeable in so many areas, and especially when it comes to the holistic approach, and not just prescribing another pill, but really have some useful tools that are been around for ages. It's just that we don't tap into them because we were steered away from them for one reason or another. But it's coming to be more prevalent now. I know the hour is upon us, and it always happened like this when we have someone real interesting that is real knowledgeable. Me and Sean can just continue to eat your brain. We're having a course over here, because your taste good. Brain is just so delicious. But go ahead, Sean. I see you.
Yeah, I just got one question before we let her loose. I just like to know, give me one success story that keeps you driven to do what you have done or what you're doing. How have you helped one individual that stood out or stands out to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there is a lot of people that gave me faith or strengthened my faith that I'm on the right track. I don't think we always see the result of our work, because sometimes, again, it's something that's obvious and we get to experience that in our presence. I have certain people that I work with now that did incredible work because they really took the time to apply everything they were learning in their own insights. So I can't pinpoint one specific one, but again, certain people change in ways that I have certain clients at the age of like 60. I had someone 73 years old, and seeing what they were able to accomplish, even though it may not be a complete transformation or rebirth at that time, but it's something that completely shifts them into another way of living, another way of feeling, another way of thinking, and seeing how they begin to be more aligned with their spirituality. If I'm able to help people reconnect with their spiritual self, for me, that's the victory, because then the spiritual self will guide the way. They don't need me anymore, because they have the best guide they can ever imagine. They have themselves, their spiritual self. Right. And so if I'm to witness that they were able to, like, oh my God, I've had this amazing experience, that's a victory for me. It's beautiful. You've got the sense of it, because I always talk about this difference between knowledge and a knowing, and just like speaking about the Catholic Church per se, right? I know a lot of people who can cite a Bible, but they never experience God. So we can be hiding behind that all we want, but it's not about knowing about God, it's about knowing God. And once people are tuning into themselves to experience this higher self, they got to know God. There's nothing that they have to prove. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. There's nothing that they have to prove. There is nothing that I have to explain. I don't have to sit there if somebody's telling me your
That's
experience is
right.
bullshit. I say,
That's
okay,
right.
yeah, whatever you think for yourself.
That part.
Can't nobody. There you go,
You
baby.
can't undo it. You can't.
There
You
you
can't put
go.
the genie back in the bottle. Once
Hey,
you see it, you can't
you
put the
can't
genie
unsee
back
it.
in the
You
bottle.
can't
You
unsee
can't
it.
unsee it.
Yeah,
You can't unsee it. So, like you said, them goosebumps comes, and you like,
yeah.
okay.
And you know what all you've been through and what you accomplished. And that's why I'm telling you, you are a joy. You are truly a ray of light. And I can tell the things that you've gone through far as in trauma and your circumstances, they were real and they were real to you. And I know that you look at yourself every day in the mirror and say, girl, you made it. You made this shit happen. And that's some real stuff right there, baby girl.
Awesome, beautiful.
Thank you.
Ask you a couple of quick questions,
Uh-oh.
then we're gonna go.
Put your seatbelt on, girlie.
A spiritual tool or practice you can't live without.
My devotional at night. Every single night I'm on my knees. It's for myself to connect with that part of myself that I don't see. That can include prayer, it's meditative practice, it's energy work, it's all together. So it's every night on my knees.
A book that changed your life.
So many. I would say Men's Search for Meaning for sure, and Spiritual Solution to Every Problem by Dr. Wayne Dyer.
I like that. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. One word that defines your life purpose.
Faith. I would say it's faith. Faith. Just having that belief, having faith is everything.
Your message to the world in one sentence.
Spend time with yourself to know yourself. Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead before I wrap.
I was just going to ask her, where can people connect with her? Where can we all find you? Because that's important. We need to be able to do that.
Yeah, so I have a website. It's www.sense.life. I have Alisa_art as a Instagram, and Alisa Gracheva. If you Google me, probably you'll find me. Psychology Today has my info. That's how people can find me as a therapist. And again, my personal is Instagram and my website. And I offer a free consultation if anybody needs that, just to consult about what their needs are. If they need to connect and just talk about something, it's going to be free. Just reach out.
Well, your calendar is full.
Yes.
Yeah.
My Lord.
Okay. What I'm going to do is give the mic to you, let you give your takeaway of what you want to leave with our audience. And if you can lead us into a 1-minute meditation out of that, and we'll do a wrap.
Okay. All right. So for the audience, you can heal. It's possible. You just have to utilize all the resources you've got and have that desire, because without a desire and being ready to change, nothing is going to happen. So I feel like just having that courage to try different things, to experience that, to find what works for you. Because again, healing is an option and it's available. We just have to look for it. And a meditation part. Okay. Do you want to do it with me? Do you want me to guide
Yes,
it?
we're with
we're
you.
here with you.
We're with you. You radiating.
All right.
We
So
hold hands, yeah.
take in a comfortable position. I want you to close your eyes and just begin to tune inwards for a little bit of time, just taking a deep breath in and finding your presence, your essence, finding your groundedness in this time and space, in this moment. And now as you allow yourself to take that quick elevator down from your head into the heart space, and allow yourself to connect with that beautiful rhythm, with that beautiful song of your heart. If you feel drawn to put your hand on it, to connect with it a little more, please do so. Just allow yourself to sense into it, to ground into your heart space. And I invite you to bring something that you love unconditionally and something that unconditionally loves you. And I want you to put it into your mind's eye and into your heart space and truly experience that love. Taking a few deep breaths in and out, allow yourself to strengthen that connection to the image and the sensation of that love and the feeling of warmth and whatever that brings. Maybe there's tingling, maybe there is that beautiful, exhilarated feeling of warmth as well. Just sense into it. And as you continue to tune into that, allow yourself to take a deep breath into the heart, opening it up. And as you exhale, shift that energy everywhere within your body. Allow that wave to take place and to go to all of the parts that may be anxious, that may be tense, and allow this beautiful sensation of unconditional love and that presence, your energy, to radiate to every part of you. Take another deep inhale into the heart. And another, expand it even more within your body and outside of it, creating that beautiful sphere. And allow yourself to stay with that energy for a little bit more. Another deep inhale into the heart. And now send it to every part of your life. Feel that wave. Now you completed your quick healing process and allow yourself to just sense into this. You can now come back and open your eyes when you feel ready.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Prodigal, the podcast. I'm your host, Don Jackson, co-host Big Sean. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. Alisa, we have had a very tasty meal today. And I know you have set the tone for the rest of the day and the week for some. Once again,
Amen.
Thank you. Peace, power, and love.
Thank you for tuning in to Prodigal, the podcast. We hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your own journey of self-discovery and transformation. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Join us again next time as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of culture with your hosts, Don Jackson and Big Sean. Until then, keep discovering, keep transforming, and keep being the amazing person you are.